Hello everyone. Today we'll be talking about Jeorge, who got a new legendary weapon upgrade in the 2.1 update today. Now I knew this day would come, so I've been saving up Jeorges, though I'm not actually sure when I will actually go ahead and plus 10 him, since feathers are a bit scarce due to my multiple projects. Anyway, since there's a bit of a misconception as to why I put up plus 10 stats, I've decided to show both the raw 40 stats and plus 10 maximum potential stats. Now, one thing I want everyone to understand is that my builds will work no matter if you're plus 0 or plus 10. So don't think that when I show you a plus 10, that means you have to be plus 10. Because honestly, plus 0 units gets to kill an enemy of similar ranking easier because enemies are tankier in plus 10 due to getting 4 in all stats, including HP. So your attack stats will have to deal with that small addition as well. So that means if anything, plus 10 would actually get in the way if you're an attacking character, though it does help a little when you're defending. But anyway, to make it easier for you guys, I'll just talk about the character as if they were a raw plus 0 unit with no summoner support. So, Jeorge becomes a rather interesting unit after this weapon upgrade. He now gets a 30% damage reduction on the first hit from magic users, which seems to be just people who uses tomes, by the way, and a plus 6 attack damage bonus against bow, dagger, magic, or staff. They specifically listed it. Basically anyone who can attack in 2 spaces. Now this is a straight up damage bonus, so it affects both phases. Unless, of course, they screwed up the descriptions again. But anyway, now Jeorge can become something else other than a Brave Bow user, which I guess was his recommended build before. But he wasn't really even all that great with that in the first place. Now, as you can imagine, he has now become the Mage Slayer he was originally supposed to be, but also a peerless marksman due to suddenly having a plus 6 attack advantage over them. So, now that we've got the introductions out of the way, this is my Furious Jeorge build. Unlike his monkey counterpart, who is friends with a banana-like man, Furious Jeorge is always pissed off about something, and seeks to bring extreme pain to everyone, particularly his ranged peers, and he won't miss, I'm afraid. First, let's go over IVs and stats. Before Fury and everything, Jeorge sits at a reasonable 32 speed tier. Now, I recommend plus speed as his boon. Though not completely necessary, it is very handy to bring him to 38 speed after Fury, as that'll cause him to double a wide variety of people while keeping him safe from speed demons. However, you can also work with plus attack, and that'll bring him up to 52 attack, plus the 6 that you get for range units, and you have a monster who deals 58 damage. As a plus 0 hero before buffs. That is disgusting, and everything wrong in this world. Combined with some buffs, and you have a hero that has a great potential to one-shot someone. And if you feel extra terrible, you can equip Death Blow instead for a grand total of 61. That is not right. But then you won't be able to take advantage of Savage Vantage-based Insanity. Another option you could do is Close Counter if you want to be an all-rounder. But I think that's something for healers or Jafar, who benefits from this more since they have pain. And they don't get Fury. Well, I guess Jafar gets Fury. I'd rather play to my strength as Jeorge, a monster who is strong in both player and enemy phase. Anyway, he can also benefit from plus dev IVs as he gets a super boon from that, and that'll take him to 31 dev with Fury. This lets him take on enemy bow and daggers better, since he doesn't get any reduction against those guys. Afterwards, your extremely powerful attacks will tear them to pieces, and they will learn to fear Furious Jeorge. Plus res works as well, as that further reduces the damage he takes from magic, and also offer protections from staffs, which is actually a pretty big deal now. Though not as useful as a boon, I I mean, I guess distance defense works with his kit as well, but not nearly as impactful as Fury in my opinion. Especially since Jeorge now opens up to getting doubled by speed demons, which really cuts into defense. Okay, now let's talk about his ideal Banes. Now you may think that, oh, it's minus HP no doubt, but no. While it is one of the dump stats, I actually prefer minus res.
Whoa, minus res? What's the deal?
Well, see, here's the thing. Since Jeorge reduces magic attacks, it's actually pretty much a -2 reduction for tomes, because of the 30% reduction. So his HP will be useful for tanking both physical and magic attacks, so it has some value. Though, if it comes down to it, well, minus HP is fine too. Okay. Finally, let's talk about the rest of the skills for Furious Jeorge. Now, I've decided to choose Vantage as my B skill because after Jeorge tanks a hit, he becomes a monster sucker puncher. Anyone who challenges him will have to deal with his furious 55 damage counterattacks. And if you run Savage Blow in your C and Seal slots and apply it beforehand, you can take that up to 69 damage at the very least. What a number! And that's even before Glimmer is calculated. Get a Dancer, well, they're done. Finished. You can splash so much AoE damage on the enemy that, yeah, there's no way they can beat you once you enter Vantage. Of course, unless, you know, they have melee attack, but that's something else you deal with. Alternatively, of course, you can take Quick Riposta to double someone to death, or Guard to deny enemy skills, or Bow Breaker to stop people who are faster than you are, like, oh, say, a Life and Death City Mongolian Lin with a Muligia. That, and you can counter people who uses Bow Breaker on you as well. Of course, if you want, you can choose to support the team with your C skills instead. Your other seal options is probably Heavy Blade, as he is likely to overpower any ranged opposition he fights. Run it with a Draconic Aura and you can blow a furious load after a single exchange. One where you hit someone and then someone lands a hit on you afterwards. Now, not many will survive such an ordeal, so that's another path you can take. Otherwise, it's good old plus speed and plus attack seals for your daily needs, or I guess you can also get distance defense for more protection. If you're not running Heavy Blade though, Glimmer will trigger just like Draconic Aura after an exchange, and since it also scales extremely well with Furious Jeorge's high attack power, it works great. Well, that's pretty much it. I mean, you can slap on Reposition or something or another, or if you want, you Ardent Sacrifice to bring yourself to like, or maybe something else, maybe like a Reciprocal Aid to bring yourself below 75% for Vantage, but that's not really necessary. Well, there you have it. Furious Jeorge, a monster in both player and enemy phase. He's a totally reliable guy and definitely worth your time plus 10ing and summoner supporting. So I hope that those of you who have traversed colorless hell, as I have, didn't like turn them into feathers or something. I must emphasize, save those guys who have legendary weapons, even if they're 4 stars. You never know what they'll become. Like that terrible Crom you have. What if his Falchion becomes different from the rest of the users? Or that Roy with his Binding Blade, which for some reason is still being ignored despite him being an iconic character. Or God, that Coin with his Yato, and then there's Eureka and her Siglin. 4-star legendaries are friends, not food. Learn your lessons from Furious Jeorge, who has now become one of the strongest heroes in the entire game, thanks to one stupid update. I bet that guy I know on Reddit who had a plus 10 Jeorge since the beginning of the game is probably doing cartwheels right now. Anyway, I thank you all for watching. Until next time.